We move into our second question. This is the best out of three. Ready? Oyala, a planned city located in the rainforest 65 miles east of Bata, is being built as a new capital for which African country? I'll repeat that. Oyala, a planned city located in the rainforest 65 miles east of Bata, is being built as a new capital for which African country? You have 12 seconds.
Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe so clear. Look out! Pop, pop, it's showtime. Showtime, showtime, showtime. Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Gone time. Oh, they don't know. Gone time. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Know to get the color.
This student here has hours of psychology outlining to do, but he has a huge test tomorrow too. So how does he get it done?
Of course I'm going to study for my psych test. I mean, there's nothing else that I could do. It's either you study or you get a bad grade. I don't see there's any in between, and I mean, it's not like I could cheat anything. It's like, that's like some type of movie stuff. That's not real. I mean, it'd be pretty nice if I could try, but don't want to get caught, right? I mean, if you do that, you're gonna get caught.
You think cheating is something in the movies, is that right? Well, that's actually really funny to me, because that's not true. And if you wanted to get an upper hand on your psychology test, you could. The question is, how do people cheat, and why do people cheat to get an advantage in the educational system? Well, we could start off by telling you that in a survey of 2,400 students, Rutgers University found that 64% of students admitted to cheating on a test, 58% admitted to plagiarism, and 95%, a whopping 95%, said they've participated in some form of cheating. So, it's not something in the movies, it's something very, very common.
Now we went around and asked a couple of students about if cheating is truly justified, meaning is there a backing up for cheating, or is it just some type of terrible thing that kids like to do? You'll be surprised at the responses. Some kids said it is justified, and some kids said that it simply was not. Let's listen in on their perspectives, and let's learn a little bit about them.
So what's your opinion on the role of cheating to get an advantage in the education system, and what do you think cheating really is?
With regards to cheating in high school, I personally think the cheaters only hurt themselves because they're pretending to display knowledge they do not have, and that's really only going to come back to bite them.
What is your opinion on the education system and using cheating to get advantage over other people, and what cheating really is? Go on.
So in the education system, these days people might go the distance to try to achieve as much as they can. Like sometimes it might come to even cheating on assignments just to get good grades and stuff so they can make it to college. Like today it's definitely harder to get into college than it was back then because there's a lot higher held standards for kids these days because as we improve as a human race and we continue to advance, that's why those standards have been raised so much. So when people don't feel like they're achieving as much as where the standard is set, they might resort to cheating or anything else that'll help them achieve and gain an unfair advantage.
We did a little social experiment to evaluate the role of cheating in today's student school society. And what we did is we gathered some data on some kids' schedules, saw what classes they were taking, which ones they were struggling in the most. And we did some homework ourselves. And we arranged this homework and we gave it to kids. And we were like, okay, you don't want to do your homework? Here's the homework. Just to evaluate how readily cheating was accepted by the students in the school. And the results were truly shocking because a lot of students did accept the homework we had done for them.
Numbers are alarming. Every student will face down the temptation to cheat on an assignment in his or her lifetime. By this point, turning in fake papers, copying the work of others, and outright plagiarism has sadly grown inescapably woven into the education sector. But, unsurprisingly, statistics abound regarding the whats, hows, and whys behind academic dishonesty, and many of these statistics will surprise those who find such actions deplorable. All schools have honor codes. Middle schools, high schools, and colleges. Middle school and high school, it may be okay, you may have warnings, but in college, violating the honor code is a strict offense. However, 60.8% of polled college students, in a sample pool of 30,000 people, admitted to cheating in a 2007 poll. Out of that number, 16.5% do not regret it, felt no guilt whatsoever for their breach of their ethics. It did not go into any detail regarding why, of course, but one wonders if today's culture of entitlement and success, without regard to the well-being of others, plays a major role in such callous attitudes. With so many scholarships, awards, internships, and other incentives at stake, it's entirely possible that those reporting no regrets considered their actions justified when rewarded for their quote-unquote successes. Yes, as Machiavelli has put it, the ends justify the means. And in fact, the ends do justify these means. Statistics also show that cheaters have higher GPAs. Look to Fordham University. They found in 2014 that cheaters have an average of 25% higher GPAs than students who do not cheat. But this raises one main question. Is the main factor for the steady outbreak in academic cheating incentives promoted within the students' own systems at school? We then asked teachers how prevalent cheating is in the school system.
Unfortunately, I think it is widespread. I remember when I started teaching 15 years ago and I heard about cheating going on, and I was really disappointed because when I grew up, I really don't think it was rampant like it is now.
Do you think the issue of academic cheating within the school system is?
I think as students get older, as they go from middle to high school, I think probably it's a very high rate of cheating in the schools.
I know you have experience teaching in the collegiate level, so how prevalent is cheating in that setting as well?
You know, I'd almost say it's worse, and part of that is depending on the college you're at, you are a little bit more anonymous in a college classroom than you are in a high school classroom. And I think the more anonymous you feel, perhaps the easier it is morally for you to make that decision to cheat. It's certainly difficult to supervise 90 people taking a test all at once. I do think in the end you only end up hurting yourself when you cheat because you're not learning that material, and then when you go on to take another class, you don't perform well. And I think it's actually impossible to cheat your way through life. So I think it will catch up eventually, but I do think it's probably easier to do in a college setting.
So even with the higher higher punishments in the college setting, it doesn't deter anymore.
You know, it's hard to carry through on punishment that goes with cheating, I think, at any point, because there must be solid evidence to accuse someone of doing that. And it is tough sometimes to collect solid evidence of cheating.
How prevalent is academic cheating in school, and how big of an issue do you think it is?
I'm very certain that it's a major issue in almost any school. There's a lot of competition, and students are trying to find the easy way around some things. I would say that there are a lot of really dedicated students who really do the work and become victims of the cheating because people are asking them for help, and they don't want to be socially banned for that kind of activity.
Then we asked teachers, what are the main driving factors for students in school to cheat?
From observing, what do you think are the main factors or incentives that push people to cheat in school?
Well, there's got to be a lot of pressure from parents, and I think that's probably the big driver. And not only parents, but probably students. They've tied success, short-run success, to getting into the right college that they want to get to.
Grades
to grades, and how do you get there? They're just looking at grades, and then they're looking at they want to go to a good college so that they'll graduate well, I guess, and get a good job and all that kind of stuff. But I think that is very nearsighted. I'm not sure if they're really seeing. That's probably the incentive. But I think it comes from a lot of pressure from parents and from themselves to succeed.
So what do you think are the main factors or incentives that drive people to cheat?
And I understand that they're under a lot of stress. They said there was a stress that it pushed them to do things like cheat. But it still makes me sad because for me, good character means so much to me. I think good character means more than your grade. I would much rather see you just be a good, kind, honest person, because that's the kind of person I would want to hire, not necessarily the person with the perfect GPA. So it makes me sad. It's something I really care a lot about, and I'd like to see change. I think, we're talking about the fixed mindset, having to be perfect, and have the perfect grade. It's not even enough to do well. You have to be perfect. I have to be above this person. I think a lot of the stress came from kids comparing each other. Where are you going to school? Yes, where are you going to school? Oh, I did this. I have 5 APs. I have 6 APs. I would never want you to have that many APs. So I think it's sometimes the students have that competition. I also think out in the world of politics and business, they haven't been very honest. And so they haven't been very good role models for you with all the problems in the financial industry and problems in politics. They're not really good role models. So I think
I think people are very stressed out. I think a lot of students are shooting, have high ambition and are shooting to get into schools that are competitive after high school, and realize that GPA is an important factor in their admission, and just kind of want to do anything they can to get there. Alternatively, I think some people have yet to develop study habits, and so to sort of catch up with studying that they didn't do, they choose to cheat so that they can still do well.
So what do you think are the incentives that push people to cheat? And certain factors.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's a 4-point grade in GPA, and we don't have that many 4-point students, unfortunately. And problem with that is that it just makes the rest of your life more difficult, because if you come into a college with what looks like a 4-point GPA and they say, oh, we can put you in these classes or this type of thing, and you can't perform, then you've outclassed yourself. And the biggest problem with that is that now there's an expectation that you no longer can deliver because you have cheated to get where you are.
We talked to the teachers at Rockridge High School, and they told us a little bit about cheating in their own school. They acknowledged the individual factors like laziness and just not wanting to do an assignment. But at the same time, they really opened up my eyes as to the external factors. And what we can extrapolate from this is that students are motivated to cheat to do well in school, to get their GPA up, to impress their parents, and to get into their dream school colleges. Now, let's look at it from a student perspective and see what they have to say.
Overall, I think cheating is a big problem in our educational system, mostly because of many areas where there's a great desire for people to score well, for people to meet standards that are abnormally, to do abnormally better than most people in the hopes of doing better in life. But in this school, I don't see it as much. The honor code is more strictly enforced. I think because of the honor code and the system we have here, I think it's much harder to do it than in different places.
When you see it, what methods do you see people doing?
I mean, like what you would think in your head, like people would be like, nudge someone's elbow and be like, what's number 2 or what's number 3? But I think the way teachers have tried to tackle that by creating different forms and trying to just inhibit cheating through this honor code.
Okay, and now when we look at the moral implications of cheating, if you put your mind in the mindset of a cheater, right? So, how do you think they function morally? Meaning that do they consider cheating as morally wrong and just outweigh it with the potential short-term gains, or do you think that they are mentally convinced that there is nothing wrong with cheating and continue to do so?
I think it's just in the heat of the situation that they try to do it, because it's in the moment. They may forget things, they know it, but maybe the person next to them will know it. And so I guess it's probably in that situation they think it's right because it justifies the ends justify the means in that short term.
So when people view the consequences of cheating and engage in cheating, are they looking at it long term, or are they just looking at the specific assignment that they can, get an edge on? Or...
I feel like it's more specific to the assignment, because a lot of the kids, they know what they're doing, but it's just that in the heat of the moment they're forgetting something and they'll probably look to cheat. And also, it also depends on your definition, because specific assignments, obviously there's a lot of collaborative work, but it's more like on
specific assignments or like tests.
But when you look at tests and quizzes, yeah, it's probably just in the heat of the moment that they're probably
so they consider that, and they don't consider anything more.
Yeah, because I mean, it's in that moment. It's under the pressure that they're in, that they feel that it's morally right to do it.
So would you say a part of the problem is the fact that they're only focusing on one specific assignment or one specific test?
Yeah, I think
they
need
don't
to
look to anything further, and that continues and has a trickle-down effect.
I think they need to just look at the long-term consequences of it. Like, they don't realize that in the long term it's not really going to help you, and that maybe you should try not to do it. But it's just that under the pressure that you're not able to.
Okay, thank you. How often do you notice people scheming or cheating and trying to advantage?
Every single day. I noticed one right in front of me right now. Sorry, I had to expose him, but he cheats frequently in class. AP US history, reading logs, I think. Is that what they're called?
I assume so.
I see him cheating a lot on those. Yeah, I've been cheating a lot every day.
So it's an everyday problem you see.
Yes.
Is it just this one individual, or is it some widespread epidemic?
It's a widespread epidemic.
How big of a deal do you think that the cheating epidemic is in your school?
I think it's not as big as some people would have you believe, but I'd say it's definitely present.
Okay. So what do you notice?
Well, I notice people sometimes asking me for information that they don't know. During quizzes, I obviously respond with something roughly equivalent to no, but that has happened before multiple times.
All right. Prevalent do you think cheating is within the school?
I think it's pretty prevalent. Everyone, like, I've seen a lot of people doing it, so there's no, it's not really hidden. Like, if you pay attention to where, like, even the teachers know it goes on, but they don't, like, unless they see it directly, then they won't do anything about it.
Okay. So what do you think are the main factors that lead to cheating happening?
I think with it is some people, they just get nervous about a test, so they really don't want to do bad, and or some people, they just lazy.
So it's a fear of failure?
Yeah, it's a fear of failure.
Okay. And put yourself in the perspective of a cheater. And so if someone who is reliant upon it, do you think that to them it's morally justified, or do they know its moral implications and still go past it and outweigh it?
I think they just do it so they can pass whatever they're taking, like a test or assignment or whatever. I don't think they think too deep into the morals of it, because I guess they don't think of it as something like big. Because like when you think of cheating, you're just like, oh, I just need.
So people cheat only for that, or they think the only thing that's in their mind is that assignment that they're cheating on.
Yes.
So are you saying that they're limited in their scope?
They're limited in their scope.
So they don't look at anything beyond that mere assignment?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think are the long-term implications of cheating?
So I think if you get into a habit of cheating a lot, then you can just ruin yourself, because if you think about like college, and once you start cheating, not only can it have like, it won't help you learn anything, and if you get caught cheating, that also ruins like everything. So for example, if you're in college and you cheat, you'll probably get expelled. Like if you plagiarize, I guess that's kind of like cheating. You get expelled from college, and then that's really bad. And even if you're just like, you don't get caught cheating, then you really won't know what you're doing with a lot of things. So as soon as you lose someone to cheat off of, or you're left on your own, then you literally have nowhere to go back on.
Okay. And last question. What are the most common methods in cheating? And so like, is there like a gradual spectrum in terms of a cheater? So like, are there some people who cheat like, you know, minimally, but are there some people who use more elaborate schemes and are more reliant on it?
I think there's no like set way to cheat. I think it's just like, oh, give me the answers. Like, unless you're like one of those guys that, because I know some people, they know someone's cheating off of them and they willingly agree on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people, they just like sneak looks at other people's papers. And then also like when it comes to assignments that are like homework assignments, people just cheat off that because whatever. And I don't think a lot of people, I don't think they consider stuff cheating when it actually is cheating. So like if someone's like, hey, help me with this problem, and they just copy them, I don't think they think that's cheating, but in their heads, but like in reality it is. Mm-hmm. It's like small little things like that. You don't think about it as like, oh, this is cheating. You just think about it as, oh, they're helping me out.
So do you look at it as a decline of moral standards?
I don't think of it as a decline of moral standards. I just think people are getting lazy.
Okay.
And they rely too much on other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have any like, they don't think they can do things themselves, so then that might affect them in the future.
Okay, thank you. What do you think academic cheating is in the school, and how often do you view it and witness it?
Pretty prevalent, like for like quizzes or tests maybe.
What do you think the main causes of it are?
People don't want to fail.
So is that, what causes that fear?
A fear of failure.
Is it because of competition within the system, like you want to do better than your peers, or is it just simply just you don't want to fail?
You don't want to fail.
Okay. So does it stem from like a lack of effort or motivation, or is it just in terms of looking out for yourself?
Looking out for yourself.
Okay. So what about the morality of cheating? So when notice people cheat, do they have any moral problems with it, or do they simply outweigh it?
I think it outweighs.
It outweighs.
Like, would you rather get a bad grade? If that's like the only option.
Okay. Thank you.
The reason why sick with cheating happens really starts with the short term. Students are initially like, okay, I'm going to cheat on this one assignment because I'm tired or for some other previously mentioned factor. But that's the root, because they get accustomed to this type of cheating and they just say the same thing over and over. This is a one-time thing, this is a one-time thing, and this, again, is a one-time thing. But with all of these one-time things, it's just a hierarchy that is being built. And then the short-term cheater or schemer eventually becomes a short-time and short-time and short-time, where it becomes a long-term type of cyclic thing, and they think cheating is an excuse for hard work on many occasions, and that's how someone who never thought about cheating before becomes to like saying, oh, cheating is some type of normal thing.
Hello, it's Roger Burke again, and we're back here to talk about cheating, a big issue. It's a big issue at home, abroad, with adults and children alike. But the kids, we know a lot more about cheating than the adults do, than our parents do, and heck, even teachers. There's so much to cheating than we already know so far, and that's why we really have to delve into it and really see what's beneath the surface. Cheating has been around for a very, very long time. I know it, you know it, your parents know it, administrators know it, and of course, teachers know it. And as much as I'd like to say, and as much as teachers would like to say, that they know everything about cheating, that simply isn't true. All they know about are looking off of someone else's paper and getting the answers and writing it down on your own paper, memorizing answer sequences, and using a newly developed tool I like to call the internet. The internet is really, really cool because you can go to spooky websites in an unfair way to gain an unfair advantage on your tests, and also you can plagiarize if it's intended or if it's unintended, and the consequences of plagiarism are very, very severe. You can get kicked out of school, get an F on your paper. Your choice, except not really. And that's just the gist of what can happen to you, and that's just the gist of cheating. And we're gonna go into how much deeper it is and how that's just the surface.
How often do you cheat in school?
I don't really cheat at all, but I mean, sometimes when you're taking a test, you can't help yourself, but you can sometimes glance, but at someone's paper, but I
feel like everyone does that, so.
What's the farthest you ever gone in cheating on an assignment?
I've never cheated on a test, but like homework and stuff, like if I'm in a rush and I need to turn it in really quickly, I could use someone else's homework, just copy down some of the problems. Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to cheat on a test and get 100%, would you take it?
It depends.
You're not going to get caught. It's purely a moral issue.
I mean, I'm about my morals, so I would probably say no. Yeah.
When students know they're being videotaped, they tend to give standard responses. That's why anonymity is crucial. We went and delved deeper into the issue and kept these sources, this time, anonymous. One student said, quote, "I sit in the back so I can use my phone without looking." Many students responded in a similar way. But that's still surface level, and we already know that this type of cheating exists. In order to get a real representation of which students are cheating and which ones are not, we had to create an anonymous survey to gauge this answer. So, what we did and our results showed that 93% of students from a cross-grade sample of 120 students admitted to either cheating or engaging in it. Taking into consideration that in a survey, participants tend to answer in a fashion more positively regarding themselves, this number may vary, and it may actually be underrepresentative of the extent to which cheating occurs to happening. And we asked students to what extent cheating goes unnoticed in their school. One student replied, "It goes very unnoticed. Obviously, teachers know and can anticipate on-site cheating. They know that people will copy off of each other during tests, and that's why they can provide the proper provisions, such as spacing out the desks and giving different forms. But the problems reach way beyond that. There are underground networks of cheating within the school, which rely on more sophisticated methods than any teacher could possibly imagine." We asked the student to elaborate on the methods, but the student refused to reveal themselves. We asked students about the most sophisticated cheating methods. One response was, "Finding the test beforehand. I mean, you can't blame me for being resourceful. Isn't it the teacher's fault that they can't use original material?" After further questioning, the main method students use to accomplish this task is as follows. Students who have friends who are upperclassmen are given the course's materials from the prior academic school year. A student remarked, "Teachers don't change them from the year before. That leads us to just use the quizzes." A lot of students didn't want to disclose to us about how much they cheat or how they cheat. So that's why we were kind of forced to go into the school environment and get anonymous sources. And they told us exactly what we wanted to know. The most sophisticated and prevalent ways that students cheat at school. We made a list of several cheating techniques which students use, and we compiled it to show you guys. We now live in the digital age, and wearable technology like smartwatches is on the rise. Tech-savvy kids are now using these watches to cheat in school. What they do is that they use computer programs on their computers and write the answers to the tests in these programs, and then on their watches they put them in, and they can off their watches and on them, so it's very discreet, and teachers would never ever know what's actually on those watches. Aside from smartwatches, there are more cost-effective options like rubber bands. We all know rubber bands are stretchy, so that means when you stretch them, you can see information, and when they're not stretched, they're contracted so you can't see that much. These are used by kids who have to take part in memorization quizzes, whether you have to memorize terms or you have to memorize vocabulary words. They're a great tool for these kids to use because they can literally cram so much information on these rubber bands, making it very, very easy for them to have access to during their test or during their quiz.
Teachers may often tell you that headphones are not allowed during a test. And while they are not, students are becoming really discreet and sneaky. What they're doing is they're taking earbuds instead and wiring them through their hoodies so it can be very sneaky when they're taking their test. All they have to do is slip it through their sleeve and hold their hands up to their ears so they understand the answers that they have on repeat from an audio recording on their phones. And because desks are really thin, you can hear through the desk as well. Before you cheat, you might want to think about the boo-boos, but that's a joke. Bandages are great tools for cheating as well, because no one's ever going to tell you to take off a bandage. What you do is you write on the inside of a bandage, and when you're taking a test, you may check up on your wound when you're really looking at the quadratic formula to ace your Algebra 1 test. This one was particularly very shocking to me. Why? Because the size of the bandage, it's really small, right? So oftentimes we're going to be seeing students put answer sequences like A, B, C, D, E, F, G on these bandages because you can only have a small amount of space, and guess what? It works, and they get that 100% on that test that they knew they were going to originally fail. This method is used primarily by women, and they use this in a very strategic way. What they do is under their skirts, they use paper or tape and paste information adhering to the test onto their legs. This way is very discreet, and I can guarantee you that no teacher will ever ask a student, a female student, to lift up their skirt. Good thinking on the student's part, but still very deceptive. It's common knowledge that everyone knows that a phone can be used for cheating, right? And teachers have caught on to this. But what teachers haven't caught on to is the disguising of these phones. So what kids have started doing is that they take their calculators, which they're allowed to use on tests, and they knock off the back of the calculator. And then underneath the front of the calculator, they put their phones so they can sneakily look at information that's stored on their phone while it looks like they're simply using their calculator. Let's get back into talking about women. Women, like the skirt method, also use the bra method. If you haven't guessed, the way this works is that they take small notes and they insert them into their bra and they look at it during a test or a quiz. And again, of course, no teacher is going to ask a female student to look at their bra to find information to prove that they are cheating. The last method, and the most meticulous of all of them, is using a water bottle to gain an unfair advantage in the education system. The way this one works is that you go onto Microsoft Word or some type of other typing software and you type up all your notes, but in very small font, around maybe 8 or 9, and you put that and you print it into a label for your water bottle. You put it on your water bottle and you take it into your classroom to ace your test or quiz. But some places have caught onto this, and it may be a diminishing method, but it's still heavily used by students everywhere. Lastly, many classes base tests off of test banks made specific to the textbook issued to students. With knowing merely the author of their textbooks, students search up the textbook's title, respective test bank, and there it is. Thousands of questions appear, ready for the students to use, disobeying their teachers. We tried to do a little experiment ourselves with economics. So the textbook name was McConnell. It was written by McConnell. So to find the test bank, we had to type in a couple of keywords. We typed in McConnell, economics, PDF, and text bank, because a bunch of these documents are usually in PDFs, and if we type in test bank, we're going to find the test bank. And if you see, that's exactly what happened. And this is on the first page of the search results. So we scroll down, it's usually not the first option, but if we go down and then we go to this website called Academia, and then we request to find it, and look how that's magic. It just happens, and the file is amazingly downloaded, and boom. Every economics question known to that textbook, which may or may not be used in a typical AP economics class, right in front of the students' eyes. Afterwards, we went back to teachers and we asked them if there's any way that we can disincentivize this type of behavior to stop these factors from occurring.
Or are there certain things that as teachers and as administrators that you can do to minimize its influence and it's likely to spread?
I don't think cheating necessarily has to happen. I think we teachers have to, we have to work hard on making sure the environment is a safe place for students to take tests. I think we have to encourage kids to do well and give them methods of success so they don't feel like they have to cheat, and talk to them about the stress they're under. So I think there's a lot of things we can do too. I like to believe that we can always make things better. So yes, I think we can, and I think the focus needs to be on good character and ethics. So I think that needs to be a focus too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if it gets worse in the college level, if students become perpetual cheaters within high school, how do you assess the risk of them carrying that behavior throughout college and the possibility of it worsening?
It's a tough one. I guess I would say this. So I taught freshmen in college, and I think cheating is still an issue there, more so than maybe in high school. But I think as students progress higher in their degree courses, I hope that they are choosing subjects for which they are passionate, and that passion helps to offset the need to cheat because they want to learn the information. And even at a large public school, as you get into your higher level major classes, they're much smaller classes. I think it's harder to cheat. I also think that the kinds of assessments you take are more sort of creative and very difficult to cheat on. So they're more reflections of understanding rather than specific content.
Okay. And are there any reforms that you can do to prevent these incentives within the system, or is it something that will always be present within the academic system?
I think if there was a way to reduce the pressure on students to achieve grade values and instead focus on learning, we might be able to address it systematically. I think as long, though, as grades or numbers are used to rank students or differentiate students from each other, cheating probably will continue to be an issue.
Okay. So you're saying that students exploit short-term gains and ignore the long-term implications of it?
I'd say that's a fair assessment.
Okay.
I mean, it's all about what can I do to get through this week or this test or this night, and it's short term.
So do you think it's an entirely moral issue? Like, are there certain students who just morally won't cheat, or do you think it's more of a product of the whole competition within the system?
I'm absolutely certain that the majority of students in this school do not cheat, do not want to cheat, and have very high moral standards. I know that they're constantly pressured by those who don't have the same degree of standards, and you can tell as a teacher when you see a student immediately starting a homework assignment before the end of class, or reading a book when there's some downtime instead of jumping on their cell phone and communicating with friends. You know that those students are very in earnest about their education, and they are not the kind of student that would cheat.
So as a teacher and as education professionals, are there certain reforms you can take in order to minimize cheating in school, or is it just an inherent problem that'll always happen?
Wow, that's a hard one. It's very inherent, and it's very, very hard to stop. We've had at least a dozen of my students have been caught cheating this year, and that's about average, unfortunately, that for one teacher to have 12 students that get caught one way or another, and it's a shame. So.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed our documentary, but I just wanted to give you guys a little last word on as to why me and Noob made this documentary. We really just wanted to expose the cheating system at our school and, you know, around the nation. And we thought it was really interesting how kids like you guys are really capable of doing hard work. You guys are really smart, hardworking individuals. And we just thought that it's really not healthy for you guys to be delving and indulging in these illicit practices which cheating may bring about. Like, I don't want to see you guys ever get caught doing anything bad or cheating on a test, getting answers beforehand, because that doesn't show your real intelligence. That just shows that you know how to get around the system. And even though you can get around the system, it's not something that you should be doing. And that's what we wanted to really show in this documentary, like how much of a problem it is and why it should be stopped. And I think you guys should really join me in the effort to be like, cheating is bad, let's put a stop to it. And I firmly believe in that, and who believes it, and we just wanted to send a message to you guys. And as always, be honorable, be honest,